Your clients are not going to the penitentiary. They are going to a minimum security camp. Let me say it again. Your clients are not going to the penitentiary. I've been to many of these prisons. It's not like they're serving really hard time. I heard those statements from Judge Bulware, a federal judge in Nevada, at a conference a couple of months ago. Now, if I've gotten some of the remarks from this federal judge incorrect, forgive me. I do not want any problems with a federal judge, but I think we get the gist of what he's trying to convey, which is relevant for all of you if you've yet to be sentenced or even sit for your probation interview, and as you prepare to create the appropriate message in your personal narrative while working with your lawyers to create your sentencing memorandum that many of you do not review before it gets turned in. That's a big no-no. Review that memo and get vested. This is your life after all. It is a government investigation. Probably should get very involved in the process and holding people you hire, including your lawyer, accountable. So our team wants to help you create the right message for the probation officer and judge. And if there's a judge who states openly, your clients ain't going to the penitentiary, well, what does that mean? You may be thinking like, well, how can I win here? What do I do? Prison's a big deal for me. I've never gone before. I don't want to go. Maybe it's not the penitentiary, but for me, 3 months or 6 months or 9 months is a really big deal. How do I manage this if the judge kind of discounts it? Those are all good questions, and it's the reason that our team is here to help you. What you must do, and this came from this judge, is try to articulate in a thoughtful, honest, introspective way all of the collateral consequences that are accompanying your conduct. I know even if you get sentenced to probation, you have endured, you have suffered financially, reputationally, the stress, the agony of thinking about this 24 hours a day. I know even if you get the outcome you want, you may then say, wow, what do I do now? I've got to rebuild. Some people who even get probation reach out and say, I kind of wish I got 6 months in prison to figure it out. Be careful what you wish for. So I want all of you to think, if I get what I want, probation, am I ready? What content am I creating to prepare for life on the other side with a felony conviction? You got to do that now. And further, if there are some judges that may discount what life could be like in a minimum security camp, how well are you articulating all of the collateral consequences that are accompanying your conduct in this process? I need you to think about that. I need you to seize that opportunity, because if you don't do that, you're going to have a judge convey to a lawyer to sentencing hearing like, listen, counselor, I know your client doesn't want to go to prison. Probably should have thought about that before he broke the law, but I just gave him a year and a day or 18 months. He's not going to the penitentiary where he's going to be locked up. You may be thinking to yourself, but that's not the only consequence. There's so many other things going on that the judge doesn't know about. Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I want you to help the judge understand this in a very professional and honest way. Now, a client of ours, Kent, was sentenced yesterday. We're going to put up a video tomorrow in our weekly webinar that he filmed immediately after the sentencing hearing. And the government asked for 57 to 60 months. No cooperation or anything like that, but it's gone on for 3.5 years. The government asked for 57 to 60 months. He got 15 months in a minimum security camp. And the judge commented on his efforts to work, to build a new record, his community service work, the actions that he has put in place over the last 3 years, 9 months since the FBI showed up at his home. That is so powerful. Lawyers can convey that work in a sentencing memorandum, and I want them to do it well. But Kent's outcome happened because he did the work. And the judge understood that whether he gets 15 months or 57 or 60 months, his life is forever altered because of this. There are consequences, and he's working every day to make amends, and it's going to continue, not just in prison, but long after he's done with supervised release. To supervised release, I'm inviting all of you at no cost to participate in our weekly webinars, Friday and Saturdays, live, interactive, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 Pacific. We have nothing to sell you on these webinars, nothing. We're going to stay on as long as necessary to answer all of your questions. I run White Collar Advice. We proudly sponsor Prison Professors, our nonprofit. We host and create these webinars by way of the nonprofit that allows us to give everything away for free. Kent will participate in our webinar tomorrow to share with you the actions that he took, the initiatives that he put in place over the last 3.5 years. And he'll share with you exactly what the judge told him at his sentencing hearing yesterday. So as I wrap up this video, besides encouraging all of you to register for our free webinar, I'll put up a link. I want to stress to all of you that some judges will discount the fact that you are going to go to a minimum security camp because they don't view it as a real consequence or prison. Therefore, you need to somehow, in a very honest way, with the right message, convey all of the myriad, millions of collateral consequences that will accompany your conduct. And you can even start off by addressing it from that perspective. Your Honor, I know that whether I get probation or 2 years or 3 years, regardless of how long my prison term, regardless of what happens at sentencing, I know the collateral consequences for my foolish, dumb, criminal, naive, greedy, arrogant actions. They're going to follow my family and me and victims that I helped create, for decades. And lives are forever changed because of my conduct, regardless of what happens here today. I should have given more thought to my actions because 24 hours a day I think about my case. I can't sleep, I can hardly eat, or in some cases I'm depressed. I eat, I put on weight, I drink, and I smoke, whatever the consequences may be in your life. And can you understand the right messaging, not blaming, or you got to own it. That's a whole nother video as we've done before. You sign the plea agreement, you don't agree with it, you want to parse it out, you want to have your cake and eat it too. Then the judge says, well, are you sorry? Are you telling me you're sorry? Because that's what I want to hear. That happens in probation reports a lot. You still may get the acceptance of responsibility credit, but they don't think you've gone all in. They don't think you've really thrown yourself on the court. So you need to approach it from this perspective. What do the stakeholders want to hear? For some, it's prison ain't a penitentiary. And the judge will then say, well, what are some of the other collateral consequences? And lastly, we've had evidence of that helping from certain judges, like Judge David Carter here in Santa Ana, who has told clients at a sentencing hearing, I know you've been in the dungeon for 3 years waiting. I'm sorry, it's too long. I am going to give you some credit because you've been waiting for 3 years. You've done well. You've been working. You've avoided problems while on pretrial. I'm going to factor that into my sentence today. In fact, I think Judge Carter opened up a sentencing hearing one time by immediately saying he was going to depart below the government's ask, in part because of how productive the defendant had been for 3 years, together with the fact that he had been living in the dungeon, as the judge said, for 3 years. Running out of breath here. So that's how I'll wrap it up. Subscribe to our webinar. Tomorrow we're going to cover do's and don'ts on federal probation and understand and create the right message for your sentencing judge. And just don't sell the only consequence is going to be prison, because I know for many of you that may turn out to be the easiest consequence, as it was for me. See you on the webinar tomorrow. Goodbye.